Yvette, your mic, okay, and your 3 minutes will start now.
Hi, I'm not going to take 3 minutes. I just wanted to say that I really appreciate all of the questions and feedback that I heard from Director Lisa McIntosh and Director Marguerite Young. Sometimes I feel like these strategic plans are just like Harry Potter's invisibility cloak, where they're just set up to camouflage all the racism, misogyny, and discrimination at EBMUD. I hope that those two women really continue to play a big part in challenging the past, the present, and what's going to happen in the future. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mark Carradine. Mark, you should be able to unmute your mic, and your 3 minutes will start now.
Well, it'd be great to have more than 3 minutes because I have 32 years of information I would like to share, but I'm not gonna belabor my point or the message I need to give to the board, and that is, it takes a lot of courage to speak out, especially on subjects that are very difficult. And I watch people as they struggle to talk about these types of things. I see it here today. This process is not rosy, and it's not meant to be rosy. It's meant to get to the core of the problem, right? Or we should say the crux of the problem. In my 32 years, I have lived multiple careers here at the district. I left school at Cal, and I came here to work because my uncle presented it as a way that I can financially support myself and at the same time finish with my education. But when I got here, I encountered systemic racism. And it was only until after I had received my bachelor's degree that, although I performed very well, never had any discipline, always had good appraisals, very good at what I do, I never promoted to a water distribution crew foreman. That was given to nothing but white guys. And that's the reality of it. But the difference between me and most other people is that I speak my mind. And I found, contrary to having the courage to speak, is that when you speak your mind, you are marginalized and isolated. I have spoke about the hiring process at the district for a long time and how there is no community. I guess you would say an equity lens. But whenever I share my voice, I'm no longer included in the conversation. I have been very patient with my time here at the district. I've been a part of the values team. I share that in my letter to you. I've been a part of every process. But what I have no tolerance for is racism. It is wrong. And Director Mellon, although I respect you, I have a lot of respect for you. I do not agree that just because a manager's position, anybody can manage. A division manager needs to understand its staff. It needs to understand the work that its staff is performing to be able to lead that division to where it needs to be, to give it an identity, to give it a voice, to bring somebody from a totally different environment and not know anything of it. That's wrong. I have been here for 32 years again, and I have watched managers step out of their comfort zone and not do well. Is it wrong for me to say that I see incompetence? Is it wrong for me to say that the Peter principle applies to some of these individuals that are hired into management? I mean, anyone can grab statistics and give you data that's going to tell you what you want to hear. But the reality is what is happening. I'm not the only voice out there, but I'm probably one of the only courageous voices. You know, in a couple of months, I'm probably going to be gone and retire. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I will say this. I have made my career here at the district what I wanted it to be, despite the opposition that I received as a plumber, promoted into supervision, and have shined, have left my imprint on this agency. When you see vehicles drive down the street and you have images and a narrative about what we do, that's my idea, okay? Our training program for our plumber twos, that's my idea. There's a lot of ideas that I bring, okay? But what I did not understand is that once I got into supervision, that I would have to be faced with another level of discrimination. What I'm about to say is not disrespectful. Engineers, they're talented individuals. But when we talk about diversity, it is the only thought and the only leadership we have. When you have 4 engineers on a panel, what do they hire? Similar to me, an engineer. It is an insult, and I'm totally offended to devalue my contributions, my skill set, and my knowledge, and what I have contributed to this organization. But I don't like the theater of talking in front of the board, but you know what? We have programs. We have some good programs, but they're in name only because there's no execution behind it. And Gary, I'll feel remiss if I did not say this. When we were doing the resolution, when Director Young wanted to put murder of George Floyd, but we decided not to because we wanted to ask forgiveness, to be truthful, that we thought we would offend people. Well, you know what? I was wholeheartedly offended that I know that man was murdered and we could not tell the truth about that.
Mark, can you please wrap up your comments?
I'm going to wrap up my comments. All I wanted to say is that I'm still optimistically cautious, or cautiously optimistic that we're going to do the right thing. And we're going to be courageous, and we're going to identify where we need to make those changes. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much for your comments and your thoughtfulness and the feedback that you're giving. I think, as we grapple with these issues, recognize the challenge of it and really appreciate your courageousness and those of others who have pointed out things that are not always easy to look at. So, thank you. Lisa. Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have any? I don't see any other hands raised. So
there are no other hands for public comment.
Yeah. Go ahead, Lisa.
Mark, thank you for your comments. I know it took courage to step out of your comfort zone to talk to us today, but I really appreciate your comments and your forthrightness and your service here at the district. I believe you weren't treated well. Where do I begin? So let's start with this huge plan, this huge program. How much staff do we need to see this through? Do we have sufficient resources? Are we planning to have sufficient resources to make this happen? Otherwise, it's just going to die on the vine, like many other projects. So that's my first question.